So I'm going to say it in Arabic and hopefully in some English. Shall I?
Sure.
Salam alaikum. Peace be upon you, my friends from the Middle East. One of my favorite reads of all time is a book I read in literature class. It tells the story of a woman, Nasula. Nasula means mother of Sula. Nasula is poor. Her house is small and her roof leaks. Her most prized possession in the world is a daughter, Sula. And Nasula has a dream. Sula will go to school, stand on her own feet, without depending on everybody. She will have a future. But Nasula is poor. She can't afford it. So she devises a plan. She begins to farm beans. At the end of the first season, she has one full bag of beans. And she calculates that this will be enough to buy Sula books and to send her to school for a year. There might even be something left over for her. So off she goes to the big city to sell her bag of beans. Some are not interested. Others try to lowball her. And then she meets him, a man in a suit, dressed sharp, well-spoken, and he's willing to pay more than what the bag is worth. Sula's going to go to school. The man tells Nasula to throw the bag in the back of his truck. And when she does, he drives off without paying. The plan is in jeopardy. The dream is in jeopardy. Nasula is left with two options. Go home and accept her fate, or stay and fight. What would she do? What would you do? Nasula stays. The story takes us on a roller coaster in which we see Nasula fight tooth and nail for her bag of beans. All she has is a little faith that this bag of beans is worth fighting for. This book is called A Cowrie of Hope. And I love this book so much because in many ways I feel it tells the story of my life. My parents are farmers. Growing up, we didn't have much. Mom and Dad love each other dearly. They love what they do. But from a young age, I knew I wanted more. Now, for the family, education was the key to get more. But we couldn't afford the good schools. And even when I was in school, I couldn't fit in. I would get in fights, I couldn't make friends, and at least once I tried to run away. In fact, by the time I finished high school, I had transferred schools not once, but twice. I went to 3 different schools in a space of 6 years. But education was still the dream. My mother has an interesting philosophy. 1 + 1 in a fancy private school is exactly the same as 1 + 1 in a run-down public school. So the plan is this: you're going to be the brightest, most hard-working student in that school, so that everybody knows that your being there reflects on your circumstances and not your abilities. See, maybe you're here today with a dream, and maybe you need to save up a bit of money first. Maybe you need to graduate first. Maybe you need to do this before you can get that, but remember, your circumstances are not always a reflection of your abilities. Sometimes, the best you can do is to do your best. And that's what I did. By the time I finished high school, I was not the brightest, most hardworking student at that school. My grades were good enough to land me in an orange, 2-story university close to a cemetery in Poland. But I had a lifeline, a bag of beans. I could speak. You could put me in front of people and I wouldn't run away. Dare I say I might even do a good job. So the plan changed a bit. Education would put food on the table, but in order to get more, I needed to find a way to sell my bag of beans, to find a sweet spot between my education and my talent. Now, please understand, at this point, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was figuring things out. In Zimbabwe, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. Nobody's working their entire lives to be a professional speaker. And back then, there were no courses for professional speakers in universities. It was just a dream. And I must confess, many times, I felt like walking away. I joined Toastmasters in 2018. They host the largest speaking contest in all the world. Over 30,000 contestants. I remember thinking maybe these people can show me how to sell my bag of beans. I would enter that contest for the next 3 years with no success and no answers. Alhamdulillah, I made friends. Good friends who introduced me to coaches, who introduced me to mentors. The network was the secret. And only after 3 years of putting these pieces together did I finally start to see progress. They invited me to the World Semis in 2022. Like Masuka, I could almost taste the dream. But right at the precipice of achieving it, I met the man in a suit. The World Semis in 2022 were held in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm from Zimbabwe, obviously. I needed a visa. Following the natural application process, the earliest appointment for a visa interview would have been in December of last year, so 5 months ago. For the contest, they wanted 2 speeches. I barely had 1. And weeks before I was supposed to get on the plane, I got robbed. They stole my wallet. I didn't care about the money. I don't have money. I cared about the ikama, the visa, the residence permit. You can't travel without your residence permit. It felt as though the man in his suit had put together an armada, a coalition of forces to rip me of my bag of beans, and I remember thinking, maybe this is a sign. Walk away. Have you ever been there? What is it we said earlier on? Sometimes the best you can do is to do your best. And that's what I did. Cyril, if the plan fails, at least you can say you did everything you could. At least you can fail with a clean conscience. Immigration offices, lawyers, police stations, city officials, in all of Poland, there is no door I did not knock. And the more I knocked, the surer I was that this was a sign that I was chasing something worth fighting for, a sign that my bag of beans was worth fighting for. My whole life, I had lived with 3 things: a dream, plan, and a little faith, and it had brought me here. Understanding why it needed to be difficult is what took me there. And friends, I stand before you today, the youngest world champion of public speaking in history. It's insane. A lot has changed since then. In Wrocław, the city where I live, at least 2 universities have opened up courses to teach their students public speaking, and I am humbled to be part of those efforts. I now travel the world, telling my story and stories like mine to people from all walks of life, and it's a privilege. Last December, I changed my career to the project management track. I told my employer that I needed to find a sweet spot between my education and my passion. He hands me my contract, which lists my responsibilities, 13 responsibilities. I don't care about the first 12, I care about responsibility number 13, to teach public speaking in all of the company. Ladies and gentlemen, I found someone to buy my bag of beans. So here you are, my friend. You know what it has cost you to get here and to be here today. You know what you're going through. Everybody's going through something. There's a name for it. Life. Whatever you're chasing, whatever you're fighting for, whatever keeps you up at night, whatever bag of beans you're trying to sell, have faith in your plan, have faith in the dream, and the faith in the dream will help you to adjust your plan. Remind yourself why it needs to be difficult, and it will give you endurance. May this be your process. May this be how you think. And when the day comes when you cross the line, may it not be that you just survive across the finishing line. No. May you, my friend, thrive across the finishing line.